Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and my usual co-host, Phil Emery, is busy fixing a glitch in the Matrix. So we're happy to have singer-songwriter Victoria Staff filling in. How you doing, Victoria?
I'm good, Neil. How are you?
Doing quite well. Thanks for joining us and filling in for Phil. And folks, be sure to check out Victoria's episode. She was on the podcast just a few weeks ago. Check out the episode from May 7th, 2024. We had a great time with Victoria on that episode, so be sure to check that out. And for everyone else, please send your comments and questions to @Songtalk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback@songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're very happy to welcome R&B and soul pop focused artist Ian Janes. How are you, Ian?
I'm great, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show, Ian. And before we get to your song, Ian, we just want to alert our listeners once again to our songwriting challenge for 2024. So the last several years, we've done songwriting challenges on the podcast where the hosts write a song to meet the challenge, and we invite our listeners as well to submit your songs. And in previous years, we've done 2 or 3 episodes where we feature our listeners' songs as answers to the challenge. And the challenge we've decided for this year is to write a holiday song. And we know that the weather outside is not frightful, but we're asking you to start thinking about the holidays and get into writing a holiday song. And if you look at the website songtalk.ca, on the sidebar, there is a link to Songwriting Challenge 2024. And on that page, we have a link to the launch episode for this challenge, which we did a few weeks ago with singer-songwriter Melanie Peterson, talking about holiday songs and a couple of her favorite holiday songs and what makes them tick. And as well, links to about 9 or 10 episodes over the past 10 years that we've done on the podcast, where pretty much every year we've talked about holiday songs in one form or another. So there's a lot of stuff there to go through, and as well a video that I found recently talking about the holiday song chord progression. So the minor 6 chord that shows up in a lot of classic holiday songs, and the person on the YouTube video goes through all the examples and explains it really well and everything. So definitely a lot of little things to think about, but we want to get everyone rolling in the summer on this thing. As they say, a lot of classic holiday songs were written in the summer, or in California where there's no snow.
Yes.
So that's about it for pre-show stuff. Now on to the main attraction. Despite being known across the globe as an R&B and soul pop focused artist, Ian Janes was a semi-finalist on SiriusXM's Top of the Country contest and wrote a blues song on Matt Anderson's 2023 Juno-nominated blues album, Matt Anderson and the Big Bottle of Joy. His music has been streamed millions of times across platforms and has been featured on CTV Morning Live, The Morning Show, CBC Radio 1, SiriusXM, Rolling Stone France, and Maclean's Magazine. His first single from Weeknights, titled Share, was written with Grammy and Emmy-nominated songwriter Jamie Hartman, Backstreet Boys, and features David Cook, musical director for Taylor Swift, on keys. Janes recently charted on Classified's CBC Top 20 reaching single Wonder as a co-writer and featured artist, and is notably featured in Classified's brand new single Amnesia, which samples the song of the same name from Janes' 2022 album, Episode 5. Welcome again to Song Talk Radio, Ian Janes.
Thanks very much, Neil. That's a very nice intro.
That's the intro that you provided. So
it's all true.
It's all very well written, nice and compact, just the way we like it. Okay, let's get started here. Let's take a listen to Ian Janes' song. This is called Weeknights. And once again, listeners, be sure to be on the website, songtalk.ca. You can download the lyric sheet to follow along with listening and with the discussion as we go through the podcast. So here we go.
punchlines and laughing at them for the 10th time. I keep myself together, but it don't last forever. On Friday, I got a paycheck. I can drink till there's no you left. Saturday night, got the fever. Sunday, I'm a believer. But Monday through Thursday, I feel you in the worst way. I pretend like an Oscar winner, but my skin gets a little thinner on those weeknights. Ain't no right on the weeknights. I made my bed and I'm lying, denying the role I played in the love I lost, seeing how much my pride really cost. I keep myself distracted, but the fact is, stubborn ain't the same as strong. Loving like that won't last long. So I bandage up my feelings and make believe I'm healing. On Friday, I got a paycheck. I can drink till there's no you left. Saturday night, got the fever. Sunday, I'm a believer. But Monday through Thursday, I feel you in the worst way. I can pretend like an Oscar winner, but my skin gets a little thinner on those weeknights. Ain't no right on the weeknights. So I bandage up my feelings and make believe I'm healing. On Friday, I got a paycheck. I can drink till there's no you left. Saturday night, got the fever. Sunday, I'm a believer. But Monday through Thursday, I feel you in the worst way. I can pretend like an Oscar winner, but my skin gets a little thinner on those Fridays. I got a paycheck. Ain't no right on. I can drink till there's no you left. Saturday night, got the fever. I got the fever. Sunday, I'm a believer. Friday, I got a paycheck. I can drink till there's no you left. Saturday night, got the fever. I can make it through Saturday. Sunday, I'm a believer. Sunday, I'm a believer.
Great track.
Oh, thank you very much.
Super, super funky. It's such a great blend of pop and R&B and lyrical content and the rhymes. There's a lot to unpack here.
Well, thanks,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What are your impressions of the song, Victoria?
Honestly, I just get blown away by people who can write fun songs. Neil, you and I have talked about it. I write sad girl music for sad girls. So fun music just feels so out of reach to me. So I'm always so blown away. Like off the top, that's how I feel.
It's hard, isn't it? It is not easy.
It's not easy. No.
It's hard. I find it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say happy songs are definitely they're tougher because there's like to strike happiness and sincerity at the same time, which I feel like you've really got here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I always say that it's really hard to write something fun that isn't stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then but then sometimes you get like so wrapped up in the it can't be stupid. But what, like I mean that I wouldn't consider one of my sillier up tempos. But sometimes I've written fun songs that I'm like, is this kind of stupid to someone else? And they're kind of like, no, this is fun. I'm like, oh, okay, good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly, it's harder to write. Yeah, harder to write it truthfully. But to be honest, I find that there is actually a attention, we'll call it, but in the sort of prosody sense of this song, where the lyrical content is actually not all that happy. The beat is happy, the groove is happy, the rhymes make it sound very positive, and the melodies are uplifting, and the whole thing has a great vibe. But it's the narrative is about a person on their weak nights and missing somebody, and how they messed up in the relationship.
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of the idea. I mean, like I call them sad bangers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I kind of like sometimes I think when I thought of this idea, it actually was sort of quasi inspired by a misheard lyric in another song I have, which is I could get into, but is which is slow and very sad. And I was kind of like, yeah, sometimes I actually did that a few times on this record specifically, where I had a sad idea and I started writing it kind of slow and sad, and I was like, and sometimes it's just like I don't need any more of these in my live show. Like I've got enough sad, slow songs. I need a couple. I need something up tempo. So a friend of mine in Nashville that I had written with a bunch, really experienced writer, was talking about the song that he used as an example was "Queen of Hearts" by Juice Newton. Playing with the Queen of Hearts. Na, 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 na. It's a big hit in the '80s. And it's, again, really up tempo, super fun sounding, but like crazy sad about a brokenhearted person. So I don't know. I find that's kind of sometimes, I don't know, you try so many different things as you write over the years. And lately I've been trying that more. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, this can be sad subject matter, but we can still have fun singing about it.
I think, and like that's a really, I want to say, in vogue idea. I'm sure everyone's heard the song that Dance the Night Away by Dua Lipa and Mark Ronson from the Barbie soundtrack.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is it's just really like my tears are like diamonds, but like everyone's like, woo, dance the night. But like you forget that the song is quite upsetting. And I think that like it's a very like, it just because it's an in vogue idea doesn't mean that it's not like a difficult idea, because there's lyricism in sad songs it's hard to make upbeat, and like just the words you use are still really like allow you to straddle that line.
Right. That's interesting feedback. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, no, like, yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to listen to that song more closely because, which actually makes your point. And what we're talking about is that I've heard that song and I just kind of thought it was about dancing and having a good time. You know what I mean?
And and that's just it. I mean, you say it's an in vogue thing, but to me, it's been going on forever. I can count way more, upbeat, up tempo, melodically fun songs that actually have a really dark lyric, rather than the inverse. Like you never hear a sad longing melody with a happy lyric. I don't know. I mean,
maybe not. I don't know.
But it is that sort of thing where the first access point to listening, especially for a quote unquote pop song, that's got a great groove, is the dancing, right? Is
Right.
the movement of it, the groove of it, the beat, the wonderful rich melodies. And if someone goes deeper and takes a closer listen to the lyrics, then they might get the sense that it's a sad song. As soon as you start listing off the days of the week in the chorus, which is really, really catchy, the Friday, the Saturday, my brain harkened back to Friday I'm in Love by The Cure.
Yeah, that's it. There's that one. There's a lot of them. 7 Day Fool by Julie Black.
Yeah.
The other one that is Months of the Year. This was a Paul Anka, Calendar Girl. It's from the 50s.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that does the whole year. That does the months of the year. Yeah,
which is a really clever device.
It is. I like that device. Yeah,
it's a really cool thing just to play off the days of the week or the months of the year or whatever. But you've got an extra little clever bit in there on those week nights, because Monday through Thursday is where you're feeling the pain.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, there's a lot of things like that is fun in songwriting. Sometimes like the like LOVE by the jazz standard, L is for the way you looked at me, O is for the only one I see,
Yeah.
And then there's some number ones too, that like just these sequential things that use other sort of language patterns and then manipulate them to get a song idea across. There's so many different, again, you write so many songs that, sometimes you find yourself searching for some of those, something new to try,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in this context, in a lot of ways, it takes, because it's a fun thing to do, it sort of takes the curse off the sad lyric. It elevates the sad lyric to this is now a fun song.
Yeah, that's interesting, that you say that. I've been finding yeah, more and more that I try to sort of represent the meaning of the lyric within the production of the song sometimes. So like just like the character in the song and the meaning of the song is somebody who is pretending to be they're okay when they're not. The song is the music and the production and the band is pretending to be playing a party song when they're actually playing more of a dirge. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the sentiment of it. So sometimes I remember hearing a Joni Mitchell interview years ago, and she was talking about Wayne Shorter and the saxophone player that played with her, and how she loved playing with him because she described it as called playing metaphorically, which I don't know if that is the exact description of what she's talking about. But there's a song called "Not to Blame" on her record, "Turbulent Indigo," and the lyric is the first lyric of the song is, "The story hit the news from coast to coast," and then just as she sings that, he plays like this really sort of like this sort of pulsating, really slow note that very much sounds like Morse code. So it's like you know what I mean? It's like you can get really cheesy with that when you do that, take it too far. But if you can find subtle ways of reflecting the meaning of the lyric within the production and the way the musicians are playing, I don't know. It's just more. I feel like for me, it's just like more colors on the palette of ways to communicate the concept of the song. I mean, there's another song on this record called "The Problem," where where basically the song is the narrator is having a very difficult conversation with someone, or perhaps himself. It's hard to tell. It could be either. And it's a very difficult conversation. And so in the production, I've also made it very, very spacious. And there's a lot of long pauses that are almost uncomfortably long, where you don't know if the song's over or something else is going to happen. And that was intentional in order to make the listener feel like when they're hearing that difficult conversation that's conveyed in the lyric and the narrative of the lyric, they're actually feeling those painfully awkward silences during a difficult, awkward conversation in an interpersonal relationship. You know what I mean? So yeah, like always finding ways to connect the music in metaphoric and representative ways like that beyond just the chords to support the lyric is something that I feel like I'm digging into more and more the older I get.
Wow. Okay. Neat. Okay, so when we talk a little bit about your process, how did this song start? Like, how do you is it typical of how you write? Do you write lyrics first, music first? How do you start a song?
Well, as I said earlier, so I have a song called "Any Fool," which was on my record "Yes Man," which I guess was 3 records ago. But it's something that I always play. It's one of my favorites to play. And there's a lyric in the second verse where the person similarly, well, not similarly, this person is the character in the song is having a hard time not going back to the same person despite knowing that it's bound to fail over and over again. And the lyric in the song is, "I can't seem to solve this weakened resolve, so I'm giving in." So I had somebody come up to me at a show and say, "In Any Fool, are you saying weakened resolve or weekend resolve?"
Huh.
And I was like, "Well, I'm saying weekend, but weekend works too. You can sing whatever you want, you know what I mean? Because like maybe on the weekend your resolve would be weakened, And so I got thinking about that, and I remember making a note about that in my phone: weekend, weekend, weeknight, weekday, and just the whole word "week" with EA or EE, and how it could mean different things, right? So I got thinking about that, and first, I mean, you could go either way. You could be weak. It could be a weekend, like the misheard lyric. But then to me, like, I was just thinking that it was more interesting. I got thinking about the character in the song and thinking about if you're, in a relationship that's recently dissolved, might be more likely that it would be during boring, like how the boring mundane tasks you do with someone that you love are often more memorable, and those might be what you'd miss more than because on the weekend, like I sing about in the song, you can go out and you can have fun, you're going to go to a party, and there's all these distractions to keep you from thinking about your broken heart. But maybe during the week when you're making dinner or like just sitting around watching Netflix or then maybe that's when you sort of notice that those are the things hearing them unlock the door and come in after work, or hearing them come up the stairs and knowing that they're about to come in and you're going to be together. So that's sort of how. So in this case, I very much sort of explored what I wanted to say, and I knew what the title would be. And I knew that the chorus would be centered around this idea of weeknights, and then it was just a matter of sort of unraveling the story. And then I stumbled on the sort of chronological days of the week idea after that. So I believe the music came kind of second on that. I actually had another track started that wasn't really taking off, and so I remember using a little bit of that for the bass line, which sort of identifies this song. I tend to write because, like, I'm a songwriter, but because I'm a producer and a musician and band leader, and like that, like I always say, like playing my band or playing the musicians in the studio is sort of, which has changed a little bit as DAWs and Logic and all this stuff. The ability to program those parts has sort of changed it so that I actually, like in this case, I programmed all the bass on this song rather than paying someone to play it. But the idea of like writing the lyric and then the chord changes and then writing a bass figure, which is proprietary to the song, that's very much the way I write. Like I tend to not just write like the chords and the melody, but I also will write what are really critical parts of the arrangement, like to the point that when I play a show, the bass player will, play the bass figure I have written for the song, just like I will sing the lyric that I've written for the song. So I tend to assemble them with a fair amount of care into the entire arrangement, not just the lyrics and the melody, or like the middle section, the saxophones and synth in the middle. Like that's a sort of a written, arranged melodic part, which I consider to be as important as the melody or the main melody or the lyrics or the chords or whatever.
Neat.
Well, yeah, it's really interesting that you talk about how critical these instruments are, because you don't really have a bridge in this song. Like the instrumentation kind of acts as your bridge.
Yeah, it's actually not a middle 8, it's a middle 6, but yeah, it's like that's right.
Yeah, and so you kind of like build out like this really strong melody through the instruments, which is kind of continuing to tell the story of like this, like you said earlier, this fake happy song that you go into this whole solo section, and it's a bit of like I don't want to say a farce, but like a farce for
a little bit. It is. That's the absolutely the intended idea. And to that end, I'm glad that you point that out, because the middle section, the instrumental section is just a slightly varied harmonized arrangement of the verse lyric. So they're just repeating the verse concepts, but without the lyrics. It's kind of interesting, those solos. There's a really famous Chet Atkins quote, the famous Nashville producer and guitar player, when someone was playing a solo and they kept, and I always think of this when I'm either playing a solo or trying to write a middle solo section, and they're like, and they kept playing a take after take, and none of it was really working. There's like, I can't quite figure out what to play there. And Chet Atkins famously said, well, the melody usually works pretty good.
There you go.
So it's like, if all else fails, just play the melody of the song and embellish it a little bit. Like that's usually all people want to hear anyway. I mean, you want to hear that at that point. So hearing it, and there was nothing more to add lyrically. So just sort of having other instruments rephrase the melody is sometimes a really cool way to do a middle 8 or middle bridge. I haven't been writing as many bridges lately, which I love bridges. I got to write some more bridges, but it's just, I don't know, sometimes the song just doesn't feel like it wants it,
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. You gotta really you got to really listen to what the song is telling you it wants.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
And I suppose it's just jamming in a bridge for the heck of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's really an interesting approach. Like I'm wondering, like in terms of that arrangement ideas that you have. So then on the tracks, on the recorded tracks, do you then use the stuff you recorded in Logic yourself, or do you use live musicians?
Sometimes I
Like the
usually
saxophone.
that's all live. That's a Rob Christian, a guy from Toronto. But like the synth that I've like the majority of the keyboards were this amazing keyboard player and a musician called Glenn Pacha, and the organ played on that. I programmed the bass and the synth bass parts. Again, I wrote those, and I didn't want it like I wanted them to stay synth bass rather than electric bass on that song. Now live it'll be electric bass. So yeah, no, I kept those. I had programmed a bunch of beats for it and like programmed the drums, and then enough that I like often I'm recording like most of us, I'm sending stuff around. I'm not usually doing I haven't done as much in the last couple of records of being in the same room as people. Usually it's I record like to a loop, or I program the drums and the perk. I play a bunch of the instruments, I sing the vocal, and then I'll probably send it off to a drummer. So in this case, there's like the lo-fi drums that start off are actually live drums. It's not a drum loop. It's a live loop. So it was live drums that were then just sort of made to sound kind of lo-fi like that, by this guy Marito Marks, who's an incredible Toronto drummer. And then so he played those, and then we edited those, and then he played a live kit over it, which is what comes in at the beginning of the first verse, first chorus onward. So yeah, so I had him play on it, and then it was my bass and a bunch of my keys, and then Glenn play on it, and then I did the guitars, and then the saxophones, and then I just kind of keep adding the stuff that way. Like I do sort of miss. I was talking to someone the other day about wanting to how I'd like to do another record soon, where it's just you're all live in the studio, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and away you go. I enjoy that too. I haven't done that in a few years, but
throw away the click track.
yeah, sometimes with the click, sometimes without. I've done both. Yeah, I can do it either way. It's you get the right rhythm section, you don't even really notice the click because they're so locked into it. But yeah, it's a lot of lately. It's been a lot of overdubbing and sending around and that kind of thing.
The other thing I want to ask you about the song, Ian, is it's like actually I find it actually really highly crafted. Like the way the melody falls together and ties together with the lyric is very well constructed. I'm just curious about your editing process. Like how many, like did this song come together relatively quickly, or did it take a couple of
actually
revisions?
no, you know what? This was kind of one of those ones, I'm sure you guys are familiar, that did come together pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah, I remember I was away. There was a resort outside of town where I was doing a lot of gigs at the time, lounge gigs, and so I would have a lot of free time during the day. Sometimes we would go with my family, but other times go alone because it was just. But I would have all day just in my room, and I remember walking around thinking about this song, and it came together extremely quickly, and I didn't edit very much of it.
Right.
No, it kind of just was one of those ones that just kind of one of those special ones for me that just kind of came into existence real quick. The kind you wish you could have all the time,
What's kind of a dream song, like for those to fall into place?
Oh, isn't it? Oh, it feels so good. It's the greatest, Like I've actually found I used to only write that way when I was, when I was younger and when I was starting out, and then in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, when I've really, which is only in the last 10 years or so have I gotten more into co-writing, and I find that like it's like a different muscle, you know what I mean? Like it's more craft, and it's more sort of toolboxy than it is just sort of lightning bolts of inspiration, like you're going in and you have like a list of title ideas, a list of ideas, maybe you have a few different chord progressions. That's how I approach it, and I'll have like a bunch of different little starts and little places to begin. And then I can, at the beginning of the session when I'm speaking with the co-writers and I'm just like, we're trying to figure out what to do. At that point, I can be like, okay, well, how about this or how about that? And what do you think about this? And then you can find something, and then you all decide, and then you talk about what it's going to be, and you go in that direction. So it's kind of interesting. Like you would think that would be that it feels a bit too antiseptic or kind of
Hmm.
analytical in a way, like from an outsider it would, and I used to think it would be like that, but interestingly, I don't find it that way. Like I find that you often can get something pretty inspired because you're reacting to that excitement of your co-writer, like loving an idea you had and then wanting to run with it, and then they add stuff or vice versa, right? So it can be really fun to do that, and I do enjoy it. But I have like, and I don't know if it's just because of the pandemic, and then as I was writing this record, I wasn't traveling and doing as much co-writing, so I just tended to sort of I had more singularly written stuff, or I had just stuff that ideas that I thought were how do I say it? Ideas that just sort of felt so me that I couldn't imagine that other people would want to jump on them. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, like
totally.
you know what I mean. Sometimes you have ideas and you're like, and then you're just like, this is kind of wacky, but I want to write it and I want to do it, and I really don't want to sort of try to sell someone the idea of writing it with me. I just want to write it. So some of them are that way, you know.
Do you find that that's the case, that if you write by yourself, they get done less crafty maybe and more like lightning in a bottle kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean that might just be because you don't. It's easy to procrastinate when you don't have anybody co-writing with you. You know, you don't have an appointment, and a date, and a time. You can easily stop or start. So you tend to just sort of write when you really feel inspired, versus sitting down. Like if I was in Nashville on a writing trip, and it's like I've got an 11 a.m. write and a 3 p.m. write, and you know, here we are. Let's get this song done. You know, but like if you're writing on your own, you're like, I'm not feeling it, and you stop, you know? So I think I've sort of landed somewhere in between the two. Like I can take an idea that I really want to finish of my own and sort of use the craft that I've learned from co-writing to power through it. But I feel like it's usually better when it just sort of, yeah, I say it's usually better when I just let it come to me, but then I have other verses where I've forced myself to finish something and I'm really happy with it. So I don't know. The longer I do it, the less I feel like I know how it works. I just keep trying to do it.
You just try to do it. Yeah. And that's certainly the trick, is making it sound simple and natural, even if you agonized over it, and even if it took, you know, months and months to get it done, whatever.
Yeah.
To making it sound like it was inspired. And then all the beginner songwriters think if it doesn't come out of them in one afternoon, then they're no good. But
yeah,
it does take a lot of work.
Sure it does. It takes a lot of work to make it sound like it's not a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, I'm here in the band. I think that is about all the time we have on the show this week. It's been it for Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Ian James. And where can our listeners hear more of your music and find out more about you?
Oh, well, I'm on all the streaming platforms, and I'm at Ian James Music. That's James with an N on all the socials. And anywhere, just Google my name. You'll find me.
Awesome. And we'll post some links to that stuff on the show post for this episode. So be sure to check that out. And we want to hear from you too. So please send us your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show on our resources page on the website. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup, whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. If Phil were here, he'd say you can follow him at philemery.ca. Victoria, where can folks follow you?
They can find me at victoriastaffmusic.com.
Awesomeness. And Ian, what's your favorite social media channel? Where do you post the most?
Probably Instagram. Yeah.
Ian James? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
Awesome.